this chapter, we're going to talk about sights and how to set up your sight and how to choose the correct sight for you. At the moment, there's lots of different types of sight on the market. They're all really good. I've chosen this one as an example. Now, the important thing you've got to think about when selecting a sight is that, first thing, it's got enough movement up and down on the sight track for you to get all the distances you need. Most sights available come in two sizes, either small or large. Therefore, if you're using quite a slow bow, you're probably going to need the large sight track. If you're shooting quite a high poundage, you might be able to get away with the smaller sight track like I've got here. The important thing also is that the sight doesn't move. It needs to be good and solid, and there's loads available at the moment that you can buy. Right, also attached to the sight is the scope. Now this is the actual section that you aim with, so it's critical that you get a good quality lens, as that's going to help you when you're aiming. When you get your sight, it's going to come in pieces. The important thing to remember is that you need to set it all up straight. This bar, which is called the extension bar, needs to be screwed to the sight track, which is here. That needs to join to that square in order for the scope to sit up square, and therefore for you to be able to aim your bow upright. I'm going to show you now the correct method of how to line the sight track up with the extension bar. So we need to lay the extension bar down flat on the table and put the spirit level on it to check that that lines up straight, which we can see it does. Therefore, the extension bar is now our datum. We then need to put the spirit level onto the sight track, and if that comes up level as well, then we know that the extension bar is lined to the track, which it does. That's perfect. If it didn't, then we'd have to loosen one of these bolts off and then slightly adjust it until the two lined up as they do now. It's now time to attach the third axis block, which carries the scope, to the front of the sight. To do this, they simply slot back together and tighten down that screw. It also might be worth tightening that up with an Allen key just to make sure it's really tight. Okay, we're now ready to fix the sight block to the bow so that we can fit the sight to it. To do this, we just need to put the sight down there and screw the two bolts in. And once again, tighten them down with the Allen keys. This bracket now allows us to attach the sight directly onto the bow. And then we just tighten down that bolt to fix it in place. In order to check that the scope is level with the sight, we're going to put the bubble onto our extension bar and line that up in the middle, and then hopefully when that's level, the bubble inside the scope should also be level, which at the moment it's not. So we need to adjust the second axis movement on the front block of the sight, which we're going to do now. To do this, we're going to loosen off these two bolts on the front here with the Allen keys. The trick is to just loosen them off a little bit so that it's still quite tight, but that we can move it by hand. Now that they're loose, we can put the level back on, and then we can move the sight accordingly, now that it's loose, to line them up. Like that. So what we've got to do now is make sure you keep hold of it and keep it still, and then tighten the two screws back down again. The final step in setting the sight up is to set the left and right movement, or windage as some people call it. Now to do this, we need to put an arrow into the bow, like that. And then, as we did before when we were lining the arrow rest up, we're going to line the string up down the centre of the bow and the arrow, but now we also need the dot to run down the centre of the string as well. At the moment, it doesn't. So I'm going to need to adjust these two screws at the front here, like this. And then adjust the scope accordingly. Once it's in the right place for the windage, tighten them down. When setting the vertical movement on your sight, it's probably a good idea to start at quite a short range, such as 10 meters, and have the sight set near to the top of the track. Then gradually work backwards and record your sight marks as you go. Obviously, not all sights will have their adjustment in the same place as this one, but all good quality sights will have the same level of adjustability so that you're able to level your sight properly to shoot straight.